After a life-changing motorcycle accident, I realized how quickly circumstances can change and how important community is. I founded Community Pay It Forward because I wanted to create a way for people to turn everyday purchases into meaningful impact. No one should struggle alone when we have the power to lift everyone up. Community Pay It Forward is a unique fundraising and networking program that connects businesses, nonprofits, and individuals to create a cycle of support. By shopping with our giving partners, customers ensure a portion of their purchase goes towards supporting causes that they choose. We also offer community programs, events, and networking opportunities that help families, veterans, and people in need. We are expanding our reach to connect to even more businesses and community members across the country. Our goal is to make Community Pay It Forward the first stop for people who are looking to shop with a purpose. Through partnerships, events, and innovative fundraising, we're building a stronger, more connected support network, one that makes lasting differences in people's lives. Every small action counts, whether it's shopping through our program, sharing a cause you care about, sponsoring an event, or simply spreading the word. You can be part of something bigger. When we come together to support each other, we can create a future where no one is left behind. Let's start today and make tomorrow brighter for everyone.
Hey there, friends. I've been thinking, we all have our strengths, right? I can do this, but I'm not so great at that. I'm pretty good at talking to people, but I'm not so great at adding things into a website or app. Oops. I love speaking, sharing stories, but social media, all those hashtags and algorithms, yeah, that's a jungle I haven't quite figured out yet. Coming up with ideas that bring folks together? I'm all about it. Bookkeeping, let's just say numbers, and I don't exactly get along, but that's okay because someone out there is good at those things, and when we work together, magic happens. See, Community Pay It Forward has never been about one person. It's a program built by many to support even more. Every one of us brings something special to the table. We all have talents that make us great on our own. But imagine how much stronger we are when we bring all those talents together. That's what Community Pay It Forward is all about. Your skills, my skills, our hearts, working together to make a difference. So tell me, what are you good at? Let's find out together. Visit communitypayitforward.us and join the movement.
Hey all, I'm back. Zak Clayton with Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. Again, we're not trying to bring we're really not trying to bring the mood down with watching that wonderful program with Maria Belenik. What we're trying to do is make sure that people understand that there is real hope and there are real ways for people who suffer loss right now, who are finding it difficult to celebrate this being the very difficult season. If you're not, I mean, if you're fully functioned, this is a difficult season because of all the expectations that you put on yourself, the perceived expectations we have that others put on us. It's a difficult season regardless of where you're at. And if you compound that with a loss, it makes it even harder. So we're not trying to, we're really, honestly, we're not trying to make it to where you sit there and you think, oh my God, that's just depressing, because that's not what it's there for. It is there to try to educate us on how we can come together and lift someone up who's going through those difficult times. So please, please, please understand That's what we were trying to do with this lost program. There are still two more segments. Two more segments to go on that. So we will play, but it's not going to be in this section of the show. So just do know that we do have two more segments to come um, in that show, in that wonderful program that she's got going. What is winter solstice? Uh, from the longest night to Christmas, winter solstice, Greece, Rome, and beyond. Right now, we're going to look way back before Christmas trees, before gift wrapped item boxes, even before the word December existed. Winter solstice is the longest night of the year, and how humans in the ancient Greek and Roman worlds marked this turning point. This is what it became about, okay? In which, you know, it's a season. Winter solstice is a celebration of the season because it does mean that, you know what, they foresee the days getting longer in planting and crops. Um, so Greek and Roman worlds marked this turning point. We'll see how these celebrations of darkness and returning to the light help shape later holidays, including the date Christmas itself. By the end of this episode, you'll be able to uh, look at a strand of lights, a big winter feast, or even a simple candle in the window and say, I know where that comes from. What the winter solstice actually is. Let's start with the basics. The winter solstice is a northern hemisphere, usually falls around December 21st or 22nd, and is the day with the shortest amount of daylight and longest night of the year. After that moment, the days very slowly begin to lengthen again. The word solstice comes from Latin, sol being the sun, sistire, to stand still. So solstice, literally the moment when the sun seems to stand still in the sky, pausing at its lowest arc before beginning to climb back up. For ancient agriculture peoples, this wasn't an abstract astronomy lesson. This was life or death. This is what we were talking about. Look, we're starting with Greek and Roman, but this goes way back. There were people, our predecessors, when they first started, farming. This was important to them. Crops wouldn't grow, animals would die, people would starve if the sun didn't return. So across many cultures, the winter solstice became sacred, hinge, a sacred point of the year. A moment when people gathered, watched the skies, and celebrated the promise that light would return, even if they were still standing in the deepest dark. That basic emotional experience, fear of the dark and hope for the light, is the seed for many winter holidays to come. Starting back with the prehistoric and even and early solstice beginnings. Long before the Greeks and Romans, humans were already building monuments to the solstice. Think of places like Stonehenge in England or Newgrange in Ireland. Ancient sites aligned so that on the solstice, the sunlight shines in a very specific way, lighting up inner chambers or lining up with stone pillars. These are Neolithic, meaning they are from late Stone Age. And they tell people who were watching the sun's movement with incredible care thousands of years ago. These early people may not have used terms like December 21st or winter solstice, but they marked it with ceremony, agriculture, and probably feasting and storytelling. I do want to bring the word I do want to bring the word probably up here because without written word, it's really hard to judge. But they've been able through archaeology to find like food bones, and stuff like that. So they're able to put together, hypothesize, if you will, that there was feasting and you know then traditions kept going, so they were able to put it together that that is most likely what happened. So by the time we get to ancient Greece and Rome, we're not looking at the beginning of solstice celebrations. We're looking at a branch of a very old tree. The winter solstice in ancient Greece. Now let's step into the world of ancient Greece, the land of Zeus, Athena, philosophers, city-states like Athens and Sparta. The Greeks didn't have one single empire-wide solstice festival the way the Romans later had Saturnalia. But one example of the festival of Poseidon, or in the Greek, Poseidon, which some scholars connect with the winter solstice season. Poseidon was not only the god of the sea, he was also associated with earthquakes and, in some contexts, horse and fertility. His festival celebrated the winter month of Poseidon, uh, seemed to have been tied to the idea of renewal and reordering in the world at a time when everything felt dark and uncertain. In the broader Greek religious life, the winter months were often associated with myths of death and return, like in the story of Persephone. I'm sorry. Jeez. It's weird looking at that word the way it's actually spelled, even though it's a word that Persephone, and then seeing how it's actually spelled, it kind of freaked me out there. Descending into the underworld and eventually coming back, which explains the seasons. Even if that myth were more clearly linked to spring, the whole cycle of the descent into darkness and return to the light resonated with the people, or how the people felt around the solace. You can imagine Greek families in small villages, long nights, oil lamps flickering, retelling stories of gods and heroes. Think today's superhero fables and stories. And looking toward the days when the sun would climb higher again. So already we have a pattern: short days, long nights, ceremonies of renewal and hope, which are, you're going to hear these over and over again. The pattern will sound familiar in a few minutes when we get to Rome. Saturnalia. Now we step into ancient Rome, and this is where winter story gets really vivid. One of the most famous Roman winter festivals is Saturnalia. Let's break it down. Let's break the word down, which is Saturnalia, named after the god Saturn, an agriculture deity associated with sowing the seed and a golden age of peace and abundance. Originally, Saturnalia was celebrated on December 17th, but over time it expanded to several days. Eventually, sometimes stretching from the 17th to the 23rd. So you ask, what happened during Saturnalia? Work stopped. Business and law courts often shut down. Social roles flipped. Enslaved people were given temporary freedom to speak more openly, wear their master's clothes, and were even served dinners by their masters in some households. That is interesting. Wow, that. I would have loved to know known. I would love to know how they kept that in check. I mean, that's very interesting. Wow. People wore special hats called pileus, a cap associated with freedom. Gambling was allowed in public, which was usually restricted. Homes were decorated often with greenery and wreaths. So there we go. That's like the first sign of wreaths and greenery. Homes, let's see, people exchange gifts, especially small tokens like candles and figurines. The festival honored mythic times when Saturn ruled and everyone was equal, living in abundance. For a few days in December, Romans tried to recreate the Golden Age through feasting, laughter, and in some of this, if some of this sounds familiar, well, it's the decorating, the feasting, gift giving, and a special spirit of social warmth and misrule. That is not an accident. Later, when Christianity spread throughout the Roman world, the atmosphere of Saturnalia and its timing would sit very close to the emerging celebration of Christmas. Brumalia and the shortest day. Another Roman winter observance you may not have heard of is Brumalia. I am sorry about that. The name comes from the Latin word bruma, meaning winter solstice or winter cold. It's related to the word meaning the shortest or the briefest, referring to the shortest day of the year. Originally in Rome, Bruma was a minor holiday around November 24th, but in the eastern part, later the Roman Empire, especially in Constantinople, sorry, Constantinople, yeah, Brumalia grew up into a larger winter solstice festival with nighttime feasting and merriment. During Brumalia, people held banquets and drank wine. There were rituals and prophecies or omens that were taken about how the rest of the winter would go. It took an extended end of year, let's push back on gloom character. What's fascinating about Brumalia survived well into the Christian era in the Eastern Roman Empire into the 6th century and beyond, even though emperors like Justinian officially tried to repress pagan practices. That means that Christians and older seasonal customs were existing side by side and overlapping and influencing each other for a long time. So we have Saturnalia honoring Saturn with role reversals and feasting, and Brumalia, a broader winter solstice celebration, both about light, warmth, and joy in the darkest part of the year. The Unconquered Sun, Sol Invictus, in December 25th. Now we come to a crucial piece of the puzzle. Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun. In the later Roman Empire, especially in the 3rd century CE, there was a strong cult devoted to Sol Invictus, a solar deity. One of the key days connected to Sol Invictus was Dies Natalis Sol Invicti, uh, Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, the birthday of the unconquered sun, observed on December 25th. Why December 25th? From Romans' perspectives, this was the period when the sun, having reached its lowest point in the solstice, began to come back, becoming stronger and conquering the darkness again. There we go with the conquering darkness. It's not that the sun literally turned around on that exact date, but traditionally, Roman calculation and symbolism late in December around the 25th was powerful. It was a powerful movement to honor the sun's rebirth. There was also influential Eastern mystery cults, like the cult of Mithras, that celebrated the birth or triumph of the god at this time. And of course, I believe that would be the god of Saturn. A lot of these celebrations involve themes like light conquering darkness, a divine figure associated with the sun, renewal of the world's order. So picture a late Roman calendar, Saturnalia running through mid to late December, Brumalia, a broader winter season celebration. And I know I'm butchering the name of this, so I am just reading as it comes to my brain. Okay, so please forgive me on this. And Dies Nala Sol Invicti, the birthday of the unconquered sun on December 25th. The world's period around the solstice was a cluster of festivals about light, hope, abundance, and the renewal of the cosmic order. How does this connect to the date of Christmas? Now we can talk about, well, the connection. First, an important note: the earliest Christians did not originally celebrate Christmas as we know it. Their biggest focus was on Easter and the resurrection. The Bible does not give a date for Jesus' birth, and early Christian writers actually debated on whether it should even mark this celebration or if it should even be celebrated. Over time, however, Christian communities did begin the mark to mark the birth of Jesus. By the 4th century, we see December 25th recognized in Rome as the date of the Nativity, the birth of Christ. Why this date? Scholars propose a few overlapping explanations. Again, this knowing what I've learned throughout the years, this could be a touchy subject, so please bear with me. Uh, this is look, this is science. This isn't me. This is an opinion. So before I continue, let me go on ahead and put this out here. So again, please just understand this is just the studying I have done, and this has nothing to do with, well, my opinion might be thrown in there. This is me, and we all know how opinionated I can be at times. So, symbolic theology. Some Christian thinkers saw Jesus as a kind of son of righteousness, a phrase drawn from the Hebrew Bible. and the light of the world, placing his birth at the time of the physical sun begins to return around the winter solstice, fit beautifully with that symbolism. The darkest time of the year became the moment when we see the light and Christ enters into the world. So that could be one of the reasons why early Christians wanted to move the symbolism with the winter solstice. It actually fits beautifully with the way that religion is seen. Existing festivals. By choosing December 25th, the Christian celebrations of Jesus' birth landed right on or very near the Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, the birthday of the unconquered sun, and very close to the latter part of Saturnalia. This doesn't necessarily mean Christians were simply copied those festivals, but it does mean that date was already culturally loaded with the meaning about light and renewal. It also made practical sense to set a Christian holiday, uh, holy day, at the time when people were already used to gathering for celebrations. Um, it also took the light off those celebrations, bringing their holy day and making it the main focus of that time. Calendar calculations. Some early Christian traditions tried to calculate Jesus's conception and death and linked them symbolically, which also pointed them towards the winter birth dates. So there's a mix of theology, reasoning, and cultural context. The result is that Christmas on December 25th sits at the crossroads of biblical and theology symbolism about light in darkness, Roman calendar traditions marking the rebirth of the sun, and long-standing human solstice practices of feasting, community, and hope. So when you say one led to the other, it's less a straight line and more of a series of overlapping circles. Greek and Roman festivals orbiting the sun and cycles of nature, and Christian traditions stepping into the same orbit with its own story of a child into darkness as a light of the world. Again, the connection is there, and it really does. It all fits in, and that actually clears up. You know, it clears up a lot because a lot of the times when I've heard these stories, and this is just me saying when I've heard these stories, okay, but a lot of times it seemed more petty, if you will. Christians didn't want you to celebrate Saturn, which they don't. Let's call a spade a spade. They don't want you to celebrate any other gods. So this was a chance for them to take and put this where it was. I had never heard before this of them using the symbolism of the light, the child of light, over darkness. So until this moment, I had never heard that before. So I think that sounds really cool. I like that. It actually is a win in my book for early Christians. And sorry, there's times when early Christians were a little bit of a wackadoo group in my mind. A lot of the studies that I've seen. So customs that echo ancient practices. Let's connect a few specific customs that may echo those older solstice celebrations that aren't always direct one-on-one. This became that, in other words, but they share themes and sometimes practices. Feasting in the darkest time of the year. Romans feasted during Saturnalia and Brumalia, Jesus, pushing back against the cold and scarcity with food, drink, and humor. Many Christians celebrated across Europe and later Americas involving big meals, specialty foods, and gathering as a family or community. Role reversals in social warmth. During Saturnalia, normal hierarchies loosened. Masters served meals to enslaved people. People wore the pious cup, a cap of freedom, and there was a brief sense of equality. That I'm still having a difficult time with that. And I don't know, and maybe you can help me. Please comment right here. I would love to see your comments on this. Could that be the ultimate form of cruelty or torture? Because you're showing enslaved people something that they don't get. So I mean, I see that could be very. I see how that could have been very cruel. I'm not. I'm not saying particularly that was, but in my mind, I could see how this could be very, very cruel. In some Christmas traditions, we see echoes of charity and social intervention. I mean, just look at any grocery store with the bell ringers. How we donate to food banks right now, food boxes. Community Dare to Care. We've tried to give out whatever we can, trying to help families. Doing our book drive, by the way, I did want to show these. You can see a smaller pile of books, but you know what? This is the second set that's going to be going to the hospitals later on today. And so I did just want to thank everyone for everything that you've done. Please continue to donate whenever you can. We do want to continue to donate to hospitals all year long, making sure kids have something to do while they're in the hospital. So please continue to donate. Um, by the way, one lucky donor is going to win a story from Santa Claus, a personal story from Santa Claus, and another local lucky donor. Jesus, have I been drinking? I got to remember. I can't. Yeah, but anyway, one other lucky donor is going to win a 1 hour reading from our dear friend Lynn Sobolski. And there might be more prizes throughout the day. We'll see. In some Christmas traditions, we see echoes of charity and social interventions, like emphasizing on care for the poor, visiting prisoners, or the Lord of Misrule in medieval Europe, which oversaw rarely and topsy turvy customs. The underlying idea, for at least a moment, the world's usual harshness is softened. That's fantastic for what we're doing here, trying to be the light, be someone's light, and um, bring a culture of happiness. Lights and evergreens. Roman homes were decorated with greenery during Saturnalia. In Northern Europe, people brought evergreen branches indoors and celebrated the endurance of the green life in the dead of winter. This feeds into what we now know as the Christmas trees and wreaths. Today's candles, string lights, and illuminated decorations are central to Christmas and other wintry holidays, turning long nights into something beautiful, lighting up the darkness. The calendar hinge feeling. For Romans, the period around the solstice marked a change in the year, the turning towards more light. Today, Christmas sits just before the new year in the Gregorian calendar, and the whole period feels like a turning of the page, looking back with reflection and forward with hope. So, even if you removed all the specific religious doctrines and names, the emotional skeleton of the winter celebrations would still look similar across thousands of years. It's dark, we're cold, we're not sure what the future holds, so we gather, we tell stories, we remember people, we remember certain times throughout the year, and we insist and with our songs and feasts that the sun will rise again. So, in future, and so just to let you know, as this series starts on the winter holidays, I really want to be clear. We're not saying Christmas is just Saturnalia with a new label. Absolutely not. Or that one culture stole from another. Human cultures are more complex and more interesting than that. What is true is that we all live under the same sky. We all feel the length of the night. We all wonder if the light will return sometimes, literally, sometimes emotional, sometimes spiritually. Darkest times are darkest times. And that's one of the reasons why this event is so, so important to me and hopefully to you. Because this is a time for us to understand that there are people out there that, with just a little effort, we could really touch personally, and we can change what they feel is darkness and change it into something that's light. We just followed a rough path from prehistoric solstice watchers who built stone monuments to track the sun. And by the way, they're finding more and more of these monuments every year. They're really thinking. That's the one thing about this celebration, how important it's been throughout human growth. I mean, it is so important. Greek winter rituals and the Festus of Poseidon during dark months to Roman Saturnalia with its feasting role reversals and greenery, Brumalia, the broader solstice festivals around the shortest day, to Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun honored on December 25th, and finally, Christian decision to celebrate the birth of Jesus on that same date, turning the rebirth of a physical sun into a symbol of birth of the light of the world. Again, this is something I had no idea of. That's one of the reasons why they did that. I've always heard of the selfish reasons why they did it, and the reason one of the reasons they did it is because they wanted Jesus Christ and their Lord God to be the main focus. Look, I'm also not going to say that they're alone in that. That's something that religions have done forever. You know, if it's their God, their way, that's the way it is. So we'll visit other cultures and traditions, some religions, some not, that tell stories of light in the darkness around the same time of the year, and some that move throughout the year, but there's some connection to light and dark. If you're listening to this in the winter, by the way, you are, I invite you to do something small and simple tonight. When the sun goes down, turn off the overhead lights for a moment, sit in the dimness. Feel that old human vulnerability that people felt thousands of years ago. Then light one candle or plug in one string of lights and just sit there with that feeling. The night is real, the darkness is real, but so is the light. And somehow, whether through the turning of the earth, the love of the community, or the birth of hope inside the human heart, that light returns. I want to thank you for spending a couple moments with me and talking about the winter solstice going into Christmas. The importance of winter solstice and Saturnalia and Poseidon, Brumelia, and Sol Invictus. The importance to Christmas and how they all mix together. Here in just a couple minutes, we're going to be talking about Yule, the Northern Lights and winter tradition of Yule. But first, we've been talking a lot about feasting. And I have a dear friend who sent in a video about creating something for your celebration that's a little healthier. She said it's a favorite of people's, but she's doing it a little bit different in order to make it a little bit healthier. This is my friend Terry Thompson of Blue Jeans and Berries. She is a giving partner in our program, so she is a wonderful, wonderful person. And we celebrate Terry today with this video as she celebrates you and as she becomes the miracle of the season. Here is Terry Thompson of Blue Jeans and Berries.
Hey everyone, my name's Terry, in case you don't know me, and I am stepping way outside my comfort zone right now. Thanks to my good friend Zach over at Community Pay It Forward. He asked me to prepare a healthy holiday dish and video it. And this is outside my comfort zone because I hate getting in front of the camera. I'd rather be on the other side of the camera. So the good thing is I'm comfortable in the kitchen. But when he asked me to create a healthy dish, I thought, why, why give you something that you're only going to create maybe once a year, if that? I wanted to take a comfort food that I enjoy, that I think a lot of us grew up enjoying, and take it to the next level with nutrition, because that's what I'm all about. That's what I love to do. Is I am about helping people get better nutrition, helping them sneak veggies in a way that you might not necessarily think of. And as for me, when my kids were growing up, it was sometimes a fight to get them to eat vegetables. And I always wanted more nutrition in them. So it all started with me experimenting and throwing some shredded carrots into a spaghetti sauce. So it worked. The kids ate it, and I found that the carrots, when they cooked down, kind of took on the same texture as the ground meat, and it added a little bit of sweetness too. So I didn't need to put any sugar in the sauce to cut the acidity of the tomatoes. So it was a win, and I've kind of elaborated a little bit more on that. But today I wanted to prepare a comfort dish, something that I grew up eating, and I know a lot of people grew up eating. And I know, back in the 70s, it was a dish that my mother could prepare that would stretch the grocery budget, but also feed a large family, because back then we had large families. But even now, we're looking for ways to stretch our grocery budget, but still feed our family in a healthy and nutritious way. So to me, comfort food, it was called goulash in my household. Some people know it as American chop suey. There might be other names for it, but it's a basic dish starting with ground meat, and you make a tomato sauce kind of similar to a spaghetti sauce. And then you throw in noodles and let it cook down. Some people put cheese on it, some people don't. But the beautiful thing of it is you can make it all in one pan, and it is a money saver. So what I like to start out doing is I like to start out with cooking down a little bit some onions. So I'm going to throw the onions in this pan here with a little bit of olive oil. Now the benefit of olive oil, number one, it's a healthy oil, but it also helps you better digest the vegetables that you're putting into the dish. So I'm going to just put a little bit of olive oil. Actually, I'm going to pour it instead of spritz it. Pour a little bit of olive oil in a pan, and I'm doing this at about a medium high heat. I'm going to throw in, that was one small chopped onion, about a cup of onion. I don't typically measure anything, so I don't expect you to either. But if you are a stickler for measuring, that was about a cup. And then I like to put in some garlic. Probably the equivalent to 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. I cheat and I use the chopped garlic. But you're going to cook that down. You're going to allow that to cook and get fragrant. And then we're going to add in some surprise veggies. What I love to do now, a lot of people add sweet peppers into their sauces, and that's a good thing. So that I've got about a cup of sweet peppers that was in the fridge I needed to use up. Now, orange and red sweet peppers tend to have a little bit more nutrition in them. So these add more fiber, and it's going to add some more nutrition to your dish. I love to finely chop some celery. Celery is full of fiber and antioxidants that can help your body as well. Secret ingredient, one of the secret ingredients, finely chopped kale or spinach. Now this is baby kale grown in my garden. I didn't feel like going to the market for spinach. So I do chop it very fine so that it cooks down real well and it's not recognizable. Now I have a bonus here. Normally I don't put fresh tomatoes in, but this time I had some grape tomatoes that were just not yet salad worthy anymore. They were starting to get just a little bit squishy. And then what started it all, shredded carrots. Now this was 3 medium-sized carrots, and it's about 2 cups of carrots. What I love about that is not only are you going to get the immune support and the natural sweetness from the carrots, but it's going to take on the texture of the meat, and it's going to stretch the amount of meat that you need to put in the dish. So for this, I'm using not quite a pound of ground turkey. Now you can use any ground meat that you like. But I'm using ground turkey, and then I'll be using some tomato sauce and some marinara sauce, or marinara sauce. I have a little thing of marinara sauce, and I'm going to use 1 can or 1 jar of tomato sauce, and then I'll be throwing some noodles in. Now, another thing I like to do with this is I'm going to be making this sauce, and I might not want all of this to be goulash. I don't have kids at home anymore that I'm feeding, but I like to make meals that will stretch that I can eat for more than 1 meal, maybe 2 or 3 meals. But once I get past 3 meals, I'm going to get bored with it. So what I'm going to do before I thin the sauce and throw the noodles in, I'm going to set some of the sauce aside to use in another dish. Now that sauce that I set aside, you can do that. You're making the sauce, make a larger batch, set some of it aside, which you could throw in the freezer, or you can use later on to make spaghetti or make poor man's pizza. You put some on a piece of toast and throw some mozzarella on it, and that poor man's pizza. You can use the sauce for different things. So some ravioli or tortellini, whatever. So I'm going to set some of that sauce aside. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to throw the meat in. I'm going to start browning the meat, and I'm going to scramble that up with the onion and the garlic, and then I'll get right back to you. I'm going to put you on pause right now so that you don't have to see me sit there scrambling meat. Okay, I got the meat in there browning, and I don't let it get too brown before I'm going to start throwing in some of the vegetables. But I'd like to just know, what are some of your favorite comfort foods? What is it that what brings you comfort? What was something from your childhood that you remember eating all the time? Um, Sometimes they're not that they weren't made the healthiest back then, but you can modify and increase nutrition in almost anything. You'd be surprised at what you can add extra veggies to. If you're going to make a meatloaf for the family, what about adding some extra veggies in that? Carrots, peppers, spinach, those type of things you can add in, and they cook in, and they'll take the flavors of your seasonings and your meats, and nobody's going to know that they're in there except for you. So again, the meat is browning. I've got this browning really nicely, so I'm going to go ahead and throw in. I like to throw in the carrots and the kale first. The carrots take a little bit longer to cook down. Peppers, I like to have a little bit of the texture still in there with the peppers, so I don't like to cook those too soft. So I've got that meat in there with the carrots. I'm going to let that cook down for about 5 minutes, and then I will come back to you. Okay, so the meat has cooked down a bit, and the carrots have softened up. So now, excuse me, now what we're going to do is we're going to throw in the pepper, the celery and the peppers. Throw these in. Close the cupboard. We're going to throw these in, and then we're going to throw some spices in. Now, I don't know how you spice your goulash or your American chop suey, whatever you happen to call it. I guess it all depends on what part of the states you're from. Um, but I like to use Italian seasoning, a little bit of cumin, and a pinch of chili powder, just enough to give it a little bit of a kick. Not making it too spicy, but just to give it a little bit of a kick. And I know you really can't see. Well, I guess I could show you um, how colorful this is right now. We've got orange in there, we got green, little specks of the kale, and then we've got the meat in there and the onions. And the volume, as you can see, that was not quite a pound of meat. And I've pretty much filled this pan up with vegetables. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some seasonings. Now, don't be like I used to be and be one of those people that opens the bottle and sprinkles the seasoning over the food. Um, you know what happens? You get steam into it and it goes bad. So use a spoon, use your hand. I'm a little generous with the Italian seasonings. I like to have a good flavor, so that's about a good heaping teaspoons. Little less on the cumin. Not everybody likes this, but it just gives it a little bit of a smoky flavor, and the spoon won't fit in there. So we don't want that much. We want, that's about a quarter of a teaspoon, just a little flavor. And the same with the chili powder. We're just going to put a little bit in the spoon here. And not a quarter, maybe a quarter or an eighth of a teaspoon. We're going to give this a good stir, and then we're going to throw those tomatoes in. And then what we're going to do is add some sauce to this, and we're going to let it simmer for a bit. So I'm going to have to put you on pause again while I let it simmer down, while I let it simmer. If you can let it simmer at least 20 to 30 minutes, it'll get the flavor soaked in real well. If you're in a hurry, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, you can kind of push it. The longer you let it simmer, the more the flavors soak up and the vegetables cook down to where they're even less recognizable. So we're adding those tomatoes. And again, the tomatoes, I'm only adding those because I had them and I don't want them to go to waste. But they were just getting a little bit on the soft side, and I like my cherry tomatoes to have a crunch to them. So I've got the tomatoes in there. I've got the celery. I've got some chopped up greens, finely chopped greens. We got onions, we got peppers, we got all kinds of vitamins and nutrients going in there. And now we're going to add in the tomato sauce. You can use tomato sauce, you could use ragu sauce, you can use marinara sauce, whatever you want to use, whatever you happen to have on hand. I'm using what I have on hand. So I've got some tomato sauce, which I canned, and I need to use it. I need to use it up. And then I've got this little thing of marinara. I'm going to throw that in there as well. Now, the interesting thing with tomatoes is they actually, there's more lycopene in them available to you when you cook them down. So, and with the vegetables, because we are cooking them, it's going to be easy for your body to digest them and to absorb them. So, hiding some veggies in, your family won't know the difference. You're still going to have a tasty, tasty meal, and you're winning because you're getting extra veggies into their bodies. So we're going to throw in some sauce. This doesn't look too bad, actually. This one's got some nice chunks to it. It's already starting to smell incredible in here. Oh my goodness. This is going to make a nice, thick, rich sauce. And the veggies just complement the flavor. You can't taste them. So even if you've got somebody who hates spinach or kale, or they're not going to taste it in there. The carrots, need an opener for this. The carrots, again, you can't taste the carrots, but they add a subtle sweetness to the sauce. So what I love about it is it cuts that acidity down in the tomato sauce, and I don't find the need to put sugar in. If I don't put carrots in, I find myself wanting to put a little bit of sugar in the sauce to bring the acid level down. Okay, so what we're going to do here is just mix this up. I'm going to let this cook for about 30 minutes because I can. I'm not in a hurry to get this on the table. Again, you can cook it as long as you like. It's good leftover when it sits and marinates overnight. It's even better. This is why I'm going to set some of the sauce aside for another dish. And obviously, this pan is now so full, I couldn't even get my noodles in here if I wanted to. So I'm going to let this cook for a bit, and then I'm going to come back. We're going to transfer some of this to set us into a jar to set aside for another meal or two, and then we'll add our noodles in here and let it cook within the sauce a little bit. Put the noodles in, let it cook till the noodles are ready, and then we're going to have a delicious comfort meal that your family will love. They won't notice that you've thrown in all those extra veggies. You're going to win. They're going to get the extra veggies. Don't know what else to tell you. Okay, so I have a confession. I had to taste the sauce. Primo. It tastes so good. Been simmering for a bit. The carrots have softened up. The flavors have gotten in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just turn it off real quick so I can transfer some of it to a jar to use for another recipe. And then we're going to throw the noodles in and some water in and cook it down. Now what we're going to do, you have to thin that sauce down because the noodles are going to absorb a lot of water. So what I usually do is about twice the amount of water, almost, maybe times and a half to the noodles. And then you might have to add more as you go along. But let's turn this off for just a minute. It looks incredible. It smells incredible. It's got color to it too. This is the other thing I like, is it's got color. And this is a kind of dish you can make this sauce and use it in so many different ways. And it freezes well. It's if you want to make meal prep for a week, you can make a couple of different dishes with it. Like I said before, you could do ravioli, you could do spaghetti, you could do the goulash, or the what do we call it, American chop suey. I had no idea what American chop suey was for the longest time. And I found out, oh, it's just goulash. It's just goulash. So I'm going to set aside, I think this is about 3 cups in this jar, maybe. See if that's going to take that pan down enough. That should be good. Put a little bit more in there. So now I've got the pan down almost to the halfway mark, which is going to give me room for some noodles in there. And we're going to set that aside. We're going to turn it back on. I'm going to turn it on to a medium heat. I'm going to turn it on to a medium heat. We're going to let it cook with the lid on. Oh, my other confession was I cleaned up some of the mess while that was simmering. I don't normally dirty that many dishes when I'm cooking. Normally I'm chopping and I'm throwing it in the pan as I chop, but I pre-chopped to save some time because you don't want to sit here and watch me chop. And then if you did, I'd probably maybe cut a finger off or something. Anyhow, I'm really bad about measuring, but you want to thin this sauce down enough to where it's kind of watery. Because we're going to throw the noodles directly in it. This is designed to be a one-pan meal. Now, like I said, adding those veggies bulks it up more, so it makes double the sauce that you might get if you were just doing this with the ground beef or ground turkey. That was about 2 cups of elbow noodles. We don't use a whole pack at one time because we can't. It's just too many noodles for us. I'm not feeding a bunch of kids anymore. So I'm going to put these in here and I'm going to kind of stir them around and see how soupy it looks. I kind of want a little bit of a soupy texture. And then keep that up at a medium heat. Bring it back up to a simmer. And then what we're going to do is put the lid on it and let it simmer for about 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes with the noodles in it. Check the noodles at that point to see how firm they are. Are they the way you like them? Does your family like them a little softer, more al dente? But usually it takes about 12 minutes once you bring it back up to a simmer. Right now it's not yet simmering because I added room temperature water to it. And now that I look at it, I'm going to add a little bit more water. I have no idea how much water I added. I didn't measure. If you stick around long enough with me, you'll learn that I just don't measure unless I'm baking, and that's when measurements become more crucial. But in this type of a meal, anything goes. I mean, you can throw in whatever leftover veggies you have in the refrigerator. Um, you had some peas left over or green beans. I'm telling you, you can throw any kind of veggie in, and when you've got the flavorful tomato-based sauce, it's going to mask the veggies, but you're still going to retain some of the nutrients in it. So basically, you're getting the same comfort food that you're used to with just a nutrition upgrade. We've upgraded the nutrition level in it, but you still have the same good flavor. You still get the same comfort from it, especially with the pasta. Anyways, I'll be back in a few minutes. Give me about 12 minutes. Let that pasta cook down, or let the pasta cook. Period, and it will absorb water as it goes. I kind of like to check it as it's cooking every little bit because it can, if I didn't get enough water because I don't measure, it could get a little bit it could start to dry out. So you want to stir it every little bit. Don't want it sticking to the bottom of the pan. You're going to stir every little bit, keep the lid on it. Also, I forgot to mention that when I put you on pause the last time, when the sauce is simmering, I always put the lid on it then. Doesn't have to technically go on, but it keeps the mess down on the stove so you don't have quite so much splattering. Okay, so I'll be back in a few minutes with the finished product and we'll give it a taste. Okay, so it's all done cooking. The noodles are nice and soft, and we're going to give it a little taste test. Now, if you like to add cheese to it, now would be the time to add some grated cheese to the top. I'm trying to avoid dairy these days, so I am not going to be adding any cheese to it, but I want you to see how this cooked up. Now I can see the orange from the peppers, but the carrots you don't even see in here. It's just incredible the way they cook up. So let's get a little bit of this in a bowl. I'm not doing a huge bowl because, oh, that's hot, because I'm not that hungry right now. And it's a little late to be eating. But let's get a little bite of this and see how it is. I want you to see the colors in this. Try to do that without spilling it. Hopefully you can see that. You got a little bits of carrots, but they're kind of camouflaged in there. And remember that kale that I put in there? You can't even see the kale. You can't see it at all. So that's something, that's a way to sneak in the extra veggies and fiber and all that good stuff. And oh, this is gonna be hot. I'm gonna burn my mouth just for you. Actually, this is for Zach. Zach, this is all on you. And what am I gonna do with this whole pan of food? Who's gonna eat it all? Good thing it freezes up well, and it makes incredible leftovers. I love this leftover, and I can eat it cold too. Oh, warm. Mm, 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 mm. You don't even notice that there's more veggies than meat in it. Excuse me for tossing the food in my mouth. But you don't even really notice that there's more veggies than meat in it. So if you're trying to stretch your grocery dollar, this is a great way to do it as well, because meat has gone way up in price these days. And I know families are trying to cut back. So veggies are still cheap. Veggies haven't gone up the same in price as meat has. So enjoy adding some extra veggies to your dishes. Experiment a little bit with some pasta sauce, because that's really a staple in a lot of homes. And for me, that's comfort food. Goulash is comfort food. Happy holidays to all of you. Have a good one. And Zach, you owe me now.
I I will tell you, and this is really no secret that my wife Adrian, she is much better when it comes to healthy eating. I Not so much for me, but I know that Adrian was watching this a little bit, and all of a sudden you could see that brain start to turning. So she, I'm pretty sure that we're going to have goulash sometime here soon. Uh, yeah, I'm pretty sure that we're going to have goulash sometime here soon. And I'm going to hear that. See, you didn't even taste it. I know I'm going to hear that. It's kind of like, you liked Rocky Mountain oysters before you knew what they were. Yeah, but now I know what they are. I'm joking. I still love Rocky Mountain oysters. They're one of the best things in the world. And if you've never had them, what the hell's wrong with you? Have them. They're really good. They are. So, um, Terry, I want to thank you so very much. You did such a good job. I love that. I think you've got a new career, to be honest with you. I really think you did such a great job. You can find Terry in our program. She is a giving partner. You can find her on the Blue Jeans and Berries program, our page. All you have to do is go to communitypayitforward.us, type in Blue Jeans and Berries or Blue Jeans, and it's going to come on up. And anytime you do anything with Terry, you do any business with Terry, she's going to donate to something that you care about. Someone who's asked us for help, she's going to donate just by you simply doing business with her as a giving partner. So, just remember that, just to put that out there, because I think that's very important, and I really think it's something that I really hope that if you're in business, I hope that this is something that interests you and you'd like to join us sometime soon as well. So, um, we are going to now continue with our little lesson here on what is all coming up in these holidays, what's all involved, because it's not just one holiday. And next up, we've got the winter tradition of Yule. In episode one, in the first issue that we just did right before Terry, we explored the winter solstice through the Greeks and Romans, Saturnalia, Rumelia, Sol Invictus, and the long human tradition of pushing back the dark with the light. Uh, Now we're going to travel north back to where, we're going to get into the area of the Vikings and barbarians and the Norse and Germanic celebrations. Um, and we're getting into areas where, winter celebrations, well, that meant something because winter was miserable in these areas and especially for us lily livered white guys that don't like the cold. So, but this is the world of Yule, ancient Norse Germanic celebration of the winter solstice. And if you've ever lit a candle, hung a wreath, decorated a tree, or burned a log in December, you've touched a piece of Yule. First, let's clear something up. Today, many people use the word Yule as a poetic synonym for Christmas. But historically, Yule, the Old Norse pronunciation of Yule, was its own festival with its own gods, rituals, foods, and meanings. Yule was celebrated by Norse peoples of Scandinavia, Germanic tribes across Northern Europe, Anglo-Saxons in early England. The timing varied, but it centered on the winter solstice, the darkest point of the year. And the far north, and in the far north, that darkness was no joke. In some regions, the sun barely rose at all. So Yule wasn't just a holiday, it was a lifeline. It was a promise that the world would not stay frozen forever in a time where it seemed like it was frozen forever. The heart of Yule, light returning to the world. The core meaning of Yule is beautifully simple. The sun is reborn. Light returns, life will come again. The Old Norse poetry, the sun is sometimes called Sol, a goddess who rides across the sky in a chariot during Yule. Simply honoring Yule simply honored her return. They lit bonfires, torches, candles in the Yule log, but we'll get to that in a moment. These weren't just decorations, they were acts of defiance against the long northern light. Imagine a village in 1800 CE, snow piled high, wolves howling in the distance, and sun setting at 3 p.m. Wow, it settles at like 4:30 here and I get angry. And then fire, warmth, community, and hope. The Yule log, a fire that carried the sun. One of the most iconic Yule traditions is the Yule log. Here's how it worked. a massive log, sometimes an entire tree trunk, was brought into a longhouse, which is the Viking, um, Norse. Sorry, Viking is a not a people; it is a occupation. But it was their community centers, if you will. Um, but the it was brought into their longhouse. It was lit on the solstice, and it burned for 12 nights. Yes, this is one of the roots of the 12 days of Christmas. The ashes were kept for protection, fertility, and good luck. The Yule log symbolized the returning of the sun, the warmth of community, the continuity of life through winter, and the protection of the gods. In some regions, each spark from the burning log was believed to predict a calf or a lamb to be born in this coming spring. Today's chocolate Yule log cake, the Bruche de Noël, is a sweet echo of this ancient fire. Odin, the Allfather, who rode the winter sky. Now we get to one of the most fascinating parts of the Yule. Odin is the chief god, and chief Norse god. During Yule, Odin was believed to lead the wild hunt, a ghostly procession across the night sky. Here's a picture of what that would have looked like for the Scandinavian peoples. A roaring wind, horses galloping through the clouds, spirits riding behind the Allfather, the crack of thunder as hooves hit the air. Odin was a bringer of wisdom, a seeker of knowledge, a wanderer in disguise, a gift giver, and a protector of the household. Now, does that sound familiar? Many scholars believe that elements of Odin's Yule persona helped shape later Eastern folklore about Father Christmas, Sinterklaas, and eventually Santa Claus. Okay, so let's break that down. Odin had a long white beard. He rode an eight-legged horse named Slapnir. Children left out food for Slapnir, which is just like leaving cookies for Santa's reindeer. See, I've never left cookies for Santa's reindeer. I've left cookies for Santa and carrots for the reindeer. Odin rewarded good behavior with gifts or blessings, and he traveled through the sky in winter. So, pretty damn close to what we're celebrating. Now, this just came to me. In our last segment, when we were talking about this, there was a lot of coalition with winter solstice to Christmas in the religious form. This is getting more into the celebration of the Santa Claus, um, getting into the celebration itself. So, uh, but this doesn't mean that Santa is Odin. Okay, so let's not. I'm not going there. But it does mean that the winter gift givers across Europe share deep mythic roots. The Feast of Yule, eating to survive the dark. Yule was a feast of survival in the far north. Winter food was scarce. So when people feasted at Yule, they weren't just celebrating, they were strategically consuming the animals that couldn't be fed through the winter. Common Yule foods include boar, sacred to the god Freya, goat, connected to Thor and his goats, Tengriesner, and Tangnoister. Tangnoister. Ale and mead brewed earlier in the year, bread and cakes often shaped like animals or suns. So, in other words, the world's first animal crackers. The Yule boar tradition survives today in the form of the Swedish Yule board feasts, the Christmas ham in many countries. That's what we're eating today. The Boar's Head carol tradition in medieval England. Feasting wasn't indulgence, it was community resilience. The Yule goat, a mysterious ancient symbol. One of the most charming and mysterious Yule symbols is the Yule goat. Its origins are ancient and layered. It may come from Thor's goats, who pulled his chariot. It may come from pre Christian harvest rituals where the goat spirit ensured fertility. It may come from the idea of protecting household spirits. In Scandinavia today, the Yule goat appears as straw ornaments, large outdoor sculptures, a friendly figure who brings gifts, or in older folklore, a mischievous creature who demands offerings. The modern Christmas goat in Sweden, uh, Yulbakken. I'm sorry, it's Yulbakken is a direct descendant of this ancient Yule symbol. He almost sounds a little bit in some of that description. It almost sounds, and tell me if you agree with this in the comments, please. Sounds very much like the Grinch, doesn't it? To a point. Evergreens, wreaths, and the first Christmas trees. In the dead of winter, evergreens were a miracle. They stayed alive when everything else died. So Yule traditions included bringing evergreen branches indoors, hanging wreaths, decorating with holly, ivy, and fir, creating symbols of light that defied the cold. These practices traveled through Norse and Germanic Yule, medieval European winter customs, early Christian celebrations, and eventually became the Christmas tree tradition in Germany. The word wreath comes from an Old English wreatha, meaning to twist a circle of life with no beginning and no end. The 12 nights of Yule and the 12 days of Christmas Yule wasn't a single day. It was a season, often 12 nights long. Let me redo this because I read it all as one sentence. The 12 nights of Yule and the 12 days of Christmas. Yule wasn't a single day, it was a season, often 12 nights long. During these nights, the veil between worlds was thin. Ancestors were honored, spirits were active, uh, divination was common, feasting continued, fires burned, blessings were spoken over the coming year. These 12 nights influenced the later Christian traditions of the 12 days of Christmas, running from December 25th to January 6th. How Yule and Christmas intertwined. When Christianity spread into Northern Europe, missionaries faced a challenge. People loved Yule. It was woven into the land, the seasons, and their identity. So instead of trying to erase it, Christian leaders often overlapped Christian celebrations with Yule, reinterpreted symbols rather than banning them, allowed many customs to continue with new meanings. And this is how we get Christmas trees, the Yule logs, wreaths, gift giving, feasting, evergreen decorations, the timing of Christmas near the solstice, the idea of a winter gift giver. And again, this isn't about stealing or copying, it's the culture blending. It's taking an idea and adopting it, adapting it. Kind of again what we're trying to do here. Offering up people celebrations. How I celebrate could be a path into what you do later in your life. How are you going to take some of my ideas and make them your own? As we continue this journey through winter holidays, Yule reminds us of something powerful. Humans have always found ways to create warmth in the cold. We have always told stories that made sense. I'm sorry, we have always told stories that make sense of the dark. We have always gathered around fire, literal or symbolic, to say, we will get through this together. Whether you celebrate Yule, Christmas, or simply the turning of the year, the message is the same. Light returns, hope returns, life returns. I want to thank you for celebrating Yule with me. I want to continue with what we're doing. I think that this is one of the things that culturally this means something because this was our family, the Germanic. Um, that's in my blood. So learning a little bit about this is really pretty cool. Talking to people from that area is always neat to see what they do and how they decorate their homes and stuff like this. And so if you decorate your home in a specific way for Yule, please make sure that you scan the code and get ready for next year. It's a little late this year, but you know what? You can always scan the code and get ready for next year. And make sure that you maybe if you're still decorating, you can take and decorate something for us, record it and send it to us, and we'll have it ready to reveal for people next year. When I come back to doing what I'm doing, my portion of this, we're going to be talking about the birth of Christmas from early Christianity to medieval Europe and how humble nativity story grew into this global winter tradition we call Christmas. So we've still got a long ways to go, folks. We are in hour 5.5 now. The first 5.5 hours, which is fantastic that we're in 5.5 hours. And we're going to take in the holidays. Very stressful for people. We understand this. Very stressful for people. So we're going to take and we're going to slow it down for a little bit. And we're going to bring you a holiday meditation practice. Folks, this is a great time to take and find yourself a quiet little room, quiet little corner. Maybe throw on some headphones. Just sit there, breathe it in, relax, and let yourself go for the next 20 minutes. Rest, rejuvenate yourself. After this, we're going to go straight into my buddy Les Simpson, his beautiful wife, and a friend of theirs who talk about the clarity, the healing that Jesus Christ brought them and how they celebrate with Jesus Christ. Again, if you celebrate in another aspect, if you celebrate in a different way, we want to hear from you. I am opening to putting your story on what you celebrate as long as it's got a positive spin on it. Les goes into a really, really dark place in his life and talks about how Jesus Christ lifted him up. Folks, I am not a religious person. I cannot emphasize that enough. I'm going to tell you something. I talked with Les for 3 straight years now. And this story absolutely stunned me. It's a side of Les I have never seen before. So in about 25 minutes, you're going to get to witness what I witnessed, which was just simply amazing. After Les and his family end, we're going to ask you to stop and refresh. And I'm going to put in the description towards the end where we're going to broadcast the next set of the next section. Okay. So we're going to go and we have to change the social media outlets to comply with their timing. So we're going to be moving over to Community Pay It Forward on Facebook. And we're going to be leaving, we're going to try this. We're going to be leaving Instagram for this. And we're going to move to Community Pay It Forward on LinkedIn. So we're going to try TikTok. And, well, no, we can't do that because I don't know how that's going to work. We'll see what works, what goes on. But you can stay right on this the Pack Channel YouTube channel. We're going to be here all day. So, but here is a little bit of holiday meditation. Take a minute, take a breath, relax. We've got you.
As we begin, take a deep breath and relax. If you are in a car, either pull over and stop, or turn off the CD until you can get to a place where you can sit comfortably for at least 20 minutes with your eyes closed. Now take a deep breath and relax your stomach as you exhale. Continue to breathe, and on your next exhale, sink deeply into your chair. Close your eyes and release any tightness in your face and jaw. Allow your shoulders to soften. Release any tension, letting it drop away. Enjoy this time of quiet and peace. With your next breath, feel yourself floating up into the clouds. You drift away, leaving any concerns behind. Drifting and floating, you look down below and see an open meadow, a large field of grass open to the sky. In the middle, you see an immense fir tree. It is a holiday tree, sitting alone, awaiting your visit. Breathe in the scent of evergreens. Take in the clean, fresh air. Let it fill your lungs as each breath relaxes you deeper and deeper. Now, begin to gather the people around you who will participate in this special ceremony of release and renewal. In a few minutes, you will invite groups of people to your special tree. This is an opportunity to release energetic ties with each of them. You will feel more at peace. Each person you release is free to grow and evolve more fully. Later, you can either allow some people to fall away from you completely, or you can renew the energy between you. Release opens you to seeing people with freshness, and openness, strengthening supportive relationships. As you call people to mind, you will speak to each of them. Those that join the tree will find a place in the branches, like ornaments. Bring people to mind as we begin. First, invite exes to come to the tree. Ex-husbands or wives, ex-boyfriends or girlfriends. As they arrive, ask each one of them, "Do you fully support my magnificence and the direction I'm taking in my personal evolution?" If they say yes, you may let them go or ask them to stay. If they say no, definitely have them stay. Now invite childhood and school friends to come. Bring them gently into the branches and ask, "Do you support my magnificence and the direction I'm taking in my personal evolution?" If they say yes, you may choose to have them stay or allow them to leave. If they say no, then absolutely have them stay. Remember, you can reconnect with anyone easily just by thinking of them. Continue to breathe deeply. Invite your friends to come. As they float into the branches, ask, "Do you fully support my magnificence and the direction of my personal evolution?" If yes, you may ask them to stay or allow them to go. But if they say no, absolutely have them stay. Now, remember work associates. Invite co-workers and employees. Ask each of them, "Do you fully support my magnificence and the direction of my personal evolution?" If they say yes, you choose whether they stay. If they say no, absolutely have them stay. Invite your clients, people you serve. If you are a teacher, invite your students. See them join the branches and ask, "Do you support my magnificence and the direction of my personal evolution?" If yes, they may stay. If they say no, definitely have them stay. Invite bosses or anyone who has ever acted like a boss. Ask each of them, "Do you support my magnificence and the direction of my personal evolution?" If yes, choose whether they stay. If no, absolutely have them stay. Invite your teachers and those who have taught you in any way. Ask them, "Do you support my magnificence and my personal evolution?" If they say no, definitely have them stay. Take another deep breath. Invite extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles, and their families. Ask each of them, "Do you fully support my magnificence and the direction I'm taking in my personal evolution. If they say yes, they may stay. If they say no, definitely have them stay. Invite your siblings, brothers, sisters, anyone who has acted like a brother or sister. Do you fully support my magnificence and my personal evolution? If yes, decide whether they will stay. If no, positively have them stay, knowing that you can reconnect whenever you want. Invite children. Your children, even if they are grown. Children you know. They may be special to you in some way. Ask them, do you completely support my magnificence and the direction of my personal evolution? If they say yes, then you decide whether or not they will stay. If no, absolutely have them stay. Invite grandparents and anyone who has acted like a grandparent. Whether they are alive or have passed, they are here now. Ask them the question. Let them take a place in the tree. Now your parents and anyone who has acted like a parent. See them. Ask, do you fully support my magnificence and the direction I'm taking in my personal evolution? If they say no, absolutely have them stay. Invite your partner, your husband, your wife, your intimate partner. Do you fully support my magnificence and the direction I'm taking in my personal evolution? Have your partner stay to open your heart in a new way. Invite anyone else who should be here, asking, do you support my magnificence and my personal evolution? Gently invite yourself to sit at the top of the tree. Why not? You will bring a fresh awareness to your attitudes and beliefs about yourself. Notice you can be both in the tree and looking down on it. Looking at the many ornaments in the tree below, you become aware of the thin, wispy cords that come from each person in the tree and attach to you. These spider-webby umbilical cords are the energetic ties. They were created as you interact with others. You can clearly see the web of energetic ties below. In a moment, you will have a conversation with all the people in the tree. What you will say is something like this: I forgive you. do you forgive me? As you ask this, know that at a very deep level, you can initiate forgiveness for others, and they for you, because it is all one. You are really only forgiving a part of yourself. Now it is time to start. Speak to each person in your tree. I forgive you. Do you forgive me? Notice that forgiveness can begin to flow, perhaps slowly at first, and then more easily. Notice that you can both give and receive forgiveness. Understand that you are only forgiving a part of yourself. Know that you can do this now, forgiving and being forgiven, gently and easily. Forgiveness flowing between you. Now begin to see a ball of light glowing above your head. The light becomes brighter and more brilliant, coming ever closer. As the huge ball of light floats right above your head, you feel calmness and warmth. Your crown chakra opens to receive. The light becomes liquid, flowing in a constant stream to every part of your body, passing through your forehead, throat, heart, solar plexus, sexual organs, down your thighs and to your feet. You feel the warm, flowing light, infinite source of love, truth, healing. Every cell of your body fills with a calm sense that you are fully and completely loved. The power of spirit is complete in you. Light flows freely within you, comforting and soothing. So much liquid light fills you. You cannot hold it all. It overflows down the energetic ties to every person on the tree. Infinite love and light reaches from you to every person below. And as you bask in the warmth of love, inspiration, and healing, you notice how good it feels to share your light. You continue to be filled with flowing light as each of the people below glow ever more brightly with love and light and healing, until everyone is filled with the incredible healing light flowing through you. In this moment of completion, it is time to release the energetic ties. Up and to your right, you see large steel blades appear. These blades have a special purpose. They will sever your energetic ties. And as you watch, the blades zoom in, and in a single stroke, they sever the ties between you and everyone on the tree. The sight below is incredibly beautiful. As energetic ties drop, every person below illuminates the tree with their individual beauty and light. You pull any dangling ties into yourself and become whole. Then, to your amazement, all of the people below begin to float away. You have given them freedom to grow and develop in their own way. Around the tree, they become fireflies, drifting and darting as they fly away. Breathe in the beauty as the individual lights move around the tree and slowly disappear. As you watch the light, you feel warm, knowing that you have given each person a gift of freedom and blessing. You release each person to be more fully themselves. When you are ready, it will be easy to reconnect with anyone by just thinking about them or speaking with them. When you do, you will have new understanding. Any relationships that don't serve your growth can be released forever. You can choose people around you who support your highest purpose and intention. The firefly lights leave. You are alone, peaceful and quiet. Light continues to flow through you and provide a glow outward. Feel the warm light in your feet and toes, up your calves, over your knees and thighs. Allow the warmth to flow over your belly and around your hips. Feel the soothing warmth up through your chest, around your back. Your neck and arms relax as the warmth flows over them, completing the warm glow up your face, relaxing your mouth and eyes. The flow circles in your head as you relax completely. Magically, light flows from your head to your toes, filling you with wholeness, healing, and love. You reverberate with changing color, shimmering and flowing. You are open to wonder, connected to all that has changed within you. As you breathe, you feel the light pulse through you, energizing every cell. This warmth and light is yours to keep now in the holiday season and throughout the year. When you are ready, float back to present time, knowing you can celebrate the holidays with a new sense of freedom and clarity. You may find that you attract more supportive people in your life. You continue to grow and evolve in the fullness of spirit. Namaste.
Hey everybody, how's it going? We are here with this is something that we're looking forward to. Last year we had Susan and Les join us, and they talked to us about their faith and about what this season really brings to them and how they feel their faith helped them. And it was so compelling and it was so important that I wanted to bring them back again. They have brought along a friend this time, which just makes me beyond appreciative, because it does show that, look, what we're trying to get out is really making a difference and it is really resounding with other people. So I am extremely excited. So please welcome our good buddy Les, with the master class show every second Wednesday. And hello, Les, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great.
So, and his beautiful wife, Suzanne. Hello, Suzanne. It's great to see you again.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And a brand new friend. And Kathleen, we're going to try this. Okay. It's Kathleen Wooker Finning.
Very good. Very good job
Yeah.
there. Love
Yeah.
it.
Look at that. I actually got it right on the first time, the third time through. But we got that going. Kathleen, first off, thank you so very much for participating in this. It truly is something that, with what you are doing, which is, you have a healing connections through art, with the Faith to Create Ministries. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yes, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much for having me. So it's an unusual year for Christmas for me this season. Faith to Create is a ministry of the Lundborg Family Foundation. So we have the power of faith and creativity transforms lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you, and art, uh, that I know personally how art can, can help people work through different things. What is it that you try to make sure that you are? Do you let people experience the art themselves, or do you try to direct them into, you know, ways to bring that art out? How does it go? Do you just sit them down with the medium and say create, or what's the process like?
Well, by professional and training, I'm a teacher, so I have experience with the elementary education, working with the franchise, and then a coworker has asked for me to partner with her, working with elderly. So for my job itself, I go all the way from early elementary, and then summer camp is with 9 through 14 year olds, and now I'm presently working with elderly, which has been such a blessing. So, as way of background, what my ministry is, which I found so rewarding, is working with the family foundation. Unfortunately, my dad passed away 4 years ago, and my brother passed away, so we're fairly new. Very blessed to be able to have my nephew, who is highly, highly, highly trained. He's a Air Force combat cameraman, and so he's at that high level with the military, as an artist also. So we're working as a foundation. So I think I'll focus more on my what we do with our ministry, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, um, like I said, I think that and what is the difference then between what you do with the art and the ministry? What how do you distinct put a distinction in there?
I find much more freedom with my ministry because I can let the Holy Spirit work through me. This is a
Hmm.
faith driven ministry. When I'm with work, it's very, very satisfying. I enjoy it very much. Sometimes I feel a little limited because I'm following a curriculum. And this way, I'm actually writing the curriculum. So I have found that very joyful to be in the field with people of all ages and being able to write for faith to create.
Um, and I neglected to say this. Thank you very much for your teaching. I am a very strong proponent on teachers being heroes in the community. You guys are out there doing a very tough job. You've become babysitters, uh, co-parents, and unfortunately you guys have a lot of stuff thrown on you, and most of the teachers I've ever met are real superheroes in my mind, because you guys take 30, 40 different kids at once and have to become something spectacular. So thank you for your all that you've done there.
Well,
um
thank you. And fortunately, I'm in a setting with smaller kids. I taught in Christian schools. I substituted. I can be in an environment where I can personalize a little bit more. So thank you. And that's what I love about art is I can personalize it and draw people out, hopefully, with the art. Because it's a personal thing.
um so you help people experience emotion. You have helped people who have experienced emotional trauma discover connections that transform their lives.
Correct.
Can you please tell me a little bit about that?
Thank you. My most recent is partnering with an organization, Royal Family Kids. And this works directly with youth who have experienced emotional trauma and are experiencing this. We have a mentoring club, and then they go to camp for 1 week out of the summer. And art is a big part of that program. So I have some training for trust based relational intervention through Royal Family Kids. I have hands on experience with that. And so that has probably just enriched my ability to be able to go out into outside of Royal Family Kids, but be in my focus, my passion, where I believe God wants me to work and minister.
What are some of the examples of like some of the real success you've had with the with what you're doing there?
So one of the testimonials I have is a camper has a mentor, And what we do is we distribute some bags that have Faith to Create as a logo on it, and then it has an art kit inside. So it has the colored pencils, the sharpener, and it has a journal. And one of the kids is walking along with the mentor, and the mentor said, and then in this journal, you'll be able to write or you can draw. And then she said that she likes to be able to do the drawing because I can draw what I cannot write.
That is that is powerful, because it's amazing what the mind sometimes will be able to create when the words do not come to mind. You know, that is extremely powerful. I think I really do. I think that's beautiful. Um, do you, and this is just in case somebody wants to take and support what you're doing, Kathleen, do you guys take like donations of colored pencils and stuff like that, or are you guys pretty set on supplies?
It's very interesting. Thank you for asking. We're in an unusual situation because my dad passed away suddenly, and then my brother was taking this on,
I
and
am
we
so
are at a
sorry about that.
point. Thank you, thank you. It's been really challenging. We are at a point where the family's coming together and saying we actually need to find ministries. And so we're already funded. What my dad had was an online presence, and so that did not cost a lot. And then financially, it's been really, really good. I think probably the biggest struggle has been we have three generations. We're all family and they're interrelated in marriage and all that. So art has been our all of our passions. And now we are at a very, very good point having my nephew in there with the younger generation and directly related in art. And he has big dreams. And now we can partner together because he's working on the art education also. So thank you. We are good for now. Thank you.
Okay. Um, with the three generations, Kathleen, do you notice a difference in the art styles?
My dad's digital technology, and then my brother is an artist and he's desktop design. So he started introducing the digital, and then my dad started going more digital. And so our mission is to reach people digitally through art. And then my nephew is very proficient in the digital part. So
Wow, that is so cool. What are some of the benefits that you try to push forward with the art? What are some of the benefits you try to pull out of people with the art? Is I think is a better way to put that, maybe.
well, thank you. You're catching the vision. You know the vision. Thank you. So, yes, drawing out is great because everybody's individual. And the
Mhm.
nice thing about art is there's no right or wrong. And I say, I'm not grading it, and I'm not the one that decides if it goes in the museum. So, hey, it's win win. You're going to do art that you like for you. And I get to know people. I get to know their heart. So the thing is, I can, look at the shirt that they're wearing and put art in front of them. If they say, I don't know where to start, a lot of it's like, what are you wearing? What do you like? Can you tell me about yourself? Oh, can you draw that? And then some people in my classes, I teach mixed media, they like to write. They have a hard time with the drawing. So I'm learning that art transcends so much more than just the colored pencils. I like saying try everything. This is your opportunity, and they come away with that. So the benefits are they have self-expression, they have some kind of control over things. It really is good for the body. It's good for the body because it relaxes it. It's good for the brain because whether it's doodling or drawing, it's slowing down the brain. So the brain is slower and it's able to process what we can't process when we're running through our busy days. And then I like to encourage them to share. And then I like that there's collaboration also. And I feel like there's a synergistic effect because one's sharing, somebody else will share. So then it helps somebody else open up. So I think art is a great setting to be able to do that, to have the community. and share themselves.
Yeah, I cannot agree with you more. I know that back in my days when I used to do a lot of painting,
Mm,
um, there was abstract was something that I felt like the chaos that was in my mind was was better spoken when I put it on a board in front of me in the in the abstract itself. I felt like I could discuss what my head felt better on a board than I could if I was just trying to talk about it. It confused me to try to talk about it, but when I put it on the board, it made a lot of sense to me. So I love your program. I love what you're doing here. So what are some of the practical things that lead to healing and transformation when it comes to your program?
I would say being prepared, is the headspace with our youth in the foster care. If they're hungry, if they're overly tired, if they're overstimulated, there are all kinds of variables that inhibit them to get to the space that we want them to be in. So the beauty about the Faith to Create is we have these bags that go with the kids on the buses, and they can eat nonstop. They just ask for more. So that's really big, that their body and their mind is prepared. So then I think also some people like music, and of course you get into music, and there's different styles of music. So when I'm teaching, do I play music? Do they not play music? Can they have headphones? Can they not have headphones? It's so individual. So that's why I think encouraging people to I also photograph, and we say 80-20. We say 80% on a session, do what you know is going to work, and 20% go off with you might not like it. So I try to build space into that where do what you're comfortable with. So it's self esteem building, but also do that 20. And I don't give them the numbers, but that's my mindset. Do that 20 that you're not sure if you're going to like it or not. And then if they love it, then that builds their repertoire of art.
Uh, this is one that's a little bit off script here, but how hard is it to when you look at a child? And I know that a lot of times when you are drawing or painting or something, you are looking for that perfection. How hard is it with the smaller children to teach them? You have to mold perfection. Perfection's not going to just come out. You have to mold perfection. So if you feel like you've messed something up, keep playing with it because perfection is in there. What you're trying to say is in there. You just need to bring it out. How hard is
Yeah,
that with
that's good.
kids?
That's good. So, in our franchise training, it's please work quietly, and we do the respect and the talking, and then it does not have to be perfect. And then we use markers instead of
Ah,
pencils because the pencils they want to erase. So these kids just dive right into it, and sometimes they'll say, "I didn't mean to do this," and then our comment is, "Well, what would you like to do with that?" Just like that's how it is. It's kind of a good life lesson too. That's what you have now. What are you going to do with it?
yeah,
So
boy, Les, I'll tell you, if they like quiet, they would not like me very much, huh? I'm not very quiet sometimes, but um the last one I have for you, what are some of the recommended sources that that we can look into this further? How can people find out more information and maybe even talk to you a little bit further about that, how they can become involved or support what you're doing?
oh, thank you. Okay, so let's see. The Lundborg Foundations has Disciples Make. So if people during the holidays here are feeling overwhelmed, wondering how they fit in, they want to connect with somebody else's story, Lundborg Foundations has a Disciples Make ministry that has the testimonies. And then if they want to dive in further into faith, we partner with Campus Crusade for Christ. My dad did the writing himself, but now we are partnering with someone who's kept this established. and they have all kinds of different departments in the Campus Crusade. So those are the faith things that come to mind because I can't imagine my art without my faith. And just encouraging people, just like in art, to be open minded. I also say with faith to be open minded because the two of them go together with me. That's why I have faith to create because it just started blossoming when I put the two together.
And Kathleen, like I was saying at the beginning of this, that is one of the reasons why I feel so strongly about what we're doing here is I don't want to shut down any faith. I want people to understand what everybody's going through because there is a similarity in a lot of things that we all go through, no matter how we study, no matter who we are, there's still a similarity between all of us. There's our differences, but every single one of us, I mean, really, we just want to find that light within ourselves, and shutting down somebody because they are of faith minded is ridiculous, because just because, that's somebody you should be able to learn from, not
My brother
shun.
said, "Well, everybody has faith. You might want to clarify what faith is." He
Yeah,
said. So,
yeah. Well, and that is true, but everybody has a different view of faith, and
mhm.
our faiths are a little bit different. Kathleen, I'm going to ask you to do me a huge favor, and if you would send me that information for the Lundberg foundation, I will tag that on the videos themselves so people can reach out to them. And if people want to get a hold of you, just go to Healing Connections Through Art, correct?
Well, and we are in the reason I brought up with the transition is our third generation. We are now just defining who's doing what. So, out of respect to my nephew who's taking this over January 1st, 2026, I would prefer I don't put all that information out until
Okay.
he's comfortable with it. So I thank you very much for this opportunity to share. And in terms of financial, we're doing great. I just really like that you are open minded to have us on and
Uh,
talk for you.
yeah, that's absolutely perfect. But I do ask something. When you're ready to release, would you
Hmm.
please come and join Les and I again on one of his shows and
I
tell
would
us
love
you're ready to
to.
go? That
I
would
would
be
love to.
fantastic. And that way we can follow you guys on what you're doing and make sure that we get people out there and all the best information. So, um, Kathleen, I greatly appreciate you participating in this in the miracle of the season. I cannot thank you enough, and this is wonderful. I love what you're doing. Again, thank you for your years of teaching. That's just inspirational.
Thank you very, very much. And I look forward to being on again, God willing. So thank
Hey,
you.
I look forward to it. You're always welcome every year. So
Thank
I
you.
plan on doing this at least one more year. At least one more. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
I
Thank you.
plan. But
And
all right, thank
Kathleen,
you very
it's up to
much.
you if you want to stay on and hear the other two, or if you have
Mhm.
something else to do, that's
Oh,
fine.
I'm happy to hear. Are we off camera right now? Or are we on?
No, no,
You're
no. It's gonna still continue to go. So yeah, but you are more than
My
welcome to
teaching
join us.
has not been this huge sacrifice of years. It's been part-time fun activities for teaching. I enjoy teaching. So anyway,
Eh,
it's not like I'm a huge hero, but thank you.
Well, you know what? My son gets mad at me when I call him a hero. My son teaches children with disabilities over in Japan. He teaches kindergarten children English
That's
in Japan, and he gets mad at me when I call him a hero. And I tell him I don't care if you're going to get mad at me or not. I mean, you're doing something that, look, dad couldn't do, because I love my kids. I love my kids with all my heart. Your
yeah.
kids, not so much, but you know, I appreciate your kids, and I think they deserve the best chance they can get. And I think that people like you give them that chance. So that's the reason I call teachers heroes. So
Well, thank you.
regardless if you're part-time or even just somebody who goes in and offers them a hand, it
Well,
doesn't matter to me.
thank you for what you're doing. It's fantastic. So thank you very
Well,
much.
well, thank you. Suzanne, sorry, not Susan. Suzanne, how are you?
I am wonderful. Yeah, so glad to be here.
Well, I am thrilled to have you back again this year. It just your words were so inspirational last year, and yourself and Les, you brought something to our event that I wanted to make sure that we got back in there. Les has been an integral part of community pay it forward and everything that we're trying to do and lifting other people. And I know being able to focus his family and his beautiful wife, I think it's something that rounds out our year perfectly, and it really takes and just gives us that end of year push. So I greatly appreciate you joining us again.
Well, thank you very much.
So can you tell us a little bit about renewed life counseling?
Sure. Well, I've been doing this for multiple years, but I would say over the last 4 years or so, I kind of graduated, decided I'm really about inner healing because I feel like you can talk about your problems, but if you're not being empowered from the inside out, to get the healing, then you kind of recreate some of the same problems. And so my tagline is reclaim yourself and restore hope and healing. And what I find is many people have lost themselves, for various reasons. They've had uh, traumas, they've had either little traumas or bigger traumas, and all of that kind of gets in the way of really owning who you truly were God given, designed to be. So, what I like to do is help people get to the deeper roots and help them empower themselves to heal whatever their traumas have been.
Faith has a lot to do with your with what you're doing as well, right?
No,
You
absolutely. Hmm.
um, can you explain how faith helps you to help others?
Well, I do a lot of my own healing, obviously,
Hmm.
because if I can only really impart something to someone that I think I've been through. So I do bring Christ into my healing process because as a believer, I sense his power and his Holy Spirit to guide me into some deeper parts of my heart that have been hurt. We all have that. We're all broken in some degree. So when I can, best relate to someone that's going through trauma, it's usually because I've been through some variation of that.
Yeah. Suzanne, what is one of the largest misconceptions you see when people come to you? Is it when it comes to them being lost? Is it they've just got to a point where they just don't think that who they were before suits them anymore, or is there a loss of just identity and lack of faith, or is it kind of a combination of everything?
Well, I think the latter is more what I see, loss of identity, and loss of purpose. Um,
Yeah.
I think when people say I'm stuck, that's what I hear a lot. I'm stuck. Well, that tells me either they're not moving forward because they don't know their purpose or they have some emotional blocks that are keeping them from, the full healing that they could experience. And I know with veterans, there's symptoms that people experience. It could be that they observed some combat, and lost some people that they were very close to. Or, during this time of year, people have a lot of losses that
Mhm.
resurface because we're supposed to have this happy unity of community and family, but it doesn't always happen. Some families were pretty much destroyed because of being in the war zone. So I think to answer your question, I think it's a matter of how do people get to whatever those inner wounded blocks are that are there that are in their way.
I I bring up quite often that I think that the holiday commercials where they have the child that shows up at the door, the serving, the military son or daughter that comes home. I There are so many people who see that and they sit there and they wait for their own door to swing open, and have that surprise, and it just crushes them when they don't.
Mm.
What can we do, Susan, to make sure that we understand that, what, I wish that happened. I, like in my own case, I wish that on December 24th my son from Japan was going to walk through the door.
Yeah.
I know he's not going to this year.
Hmm.
I know he's not going to this year, but I can't let that bring everything down for me this year. I need to make sure that, first off, I need to make sure that I call Free, my son, and let him know, son, I wish you were here, but I appreciate and love that you are there. And
Hmm.
I just appreciate and love you. What do we need to do to make sure that we are okay and they are okay knowing that I understand you can't be here?
Yeah, boy, that's a tough one because everybody promotes
Hmm.
families this time of year. And
Yeah.
I don't have much family that's local. And the family that I do have, I'm not just extremely close, but it feels like when I focus on the image of what I think Christmas should be with families is when I get into a funk. I
Yeah.
feel like it doesn't have to be all about families. It's really about, in my opinion, because of my faith, it's about Christ and what he's done for us. So I tend to, not focus on circumstances so much as, what do I need to feel during this season and what could I do to encourage myself? Where do I put my eyes and my focus rather than on, what's missing? And prayer life, being able to image is huge. I do a lot of imagery with people because the brain really doesn't know if this has happened or if it's just an image that you conjure up. So if you kind of imagine yourself in a peaceful place, bringing in a Christ-like figure or bringing in your faith, it can really get you through a lot of difficulties during this time of year.
What what are some of the things that people struggle with the most? And I know that we've been talking about a lot of them here, but what are some of the things that you've noticed people struggle with the most this time of year?
Um,
Um,
I think it's a
along with,
lot about family, as I
yeah,
mentioned, but it's more than that. It's more about depression that they feel because their image of what they thought Christmas should be or what life should be for them. And it is the end of the year. So sometimes you're assessing, did I do enough this year? Or, I haven't moved forward this year. Or fatigue. People have a lot of fatigue and they don't understand that emotions can cause that fatigue. I actually have a testimony of someone I worked with, and she's in a whole nother continent. So it's kind of exciting because she's in the field that I'm in, but she was not able to access the type of help she needed. And she saw her husband go through some healing in a church, and it just really turned around, him and some of their relationship problems. But she still was heavy laden with some trauma from her childhood. So I can read what she wrote just recently
please, please.
because it was interesting. I do a little assessment. I send it out. It's a monthly assessment to see what their symptoms are. And I failed to do it when she first started with me, but I finally said, we need to see this, and where your symptoms are. So sure enough, the fatigue was really high for her.
Hmm.
And she kept saying, nothing's worked. I really feel, I've been to mentors, I've had therapy. And unfortunately, the therapy she had was not the kind I offer. So it didn't really go into some of the trauma holes that she had, And so what she said recently is, I've noticed a huge, huge reduction in my fatigue levels, which despite prayer and therapy had never reduced so much more before. I also noticed such a difference in my trauma memories and feelings. I can now remember the past and it's not hurtful, and I generally feel lighter. So that's so encouraging, because
Yeah.
I don't ignore some of the past. Some people say, well, get them in the present, get them thinking different, and cognitively get them into a better emotional state. But your body does hold on to memory. And we know that now from science. So whatever the cells have held on to from trauma from your past is still there, and you may have, these the reenacting these memories of when you've had some event.
The fact is, Suzanne, you don't ever get rid of the past, do you? It's just it's how you are able to work with what has happened in the past, and how you're able to perceive your success with it where you're at now, how
Yeah,
you're able to work with your past. That's what it really, for somebody to say you need to bring them out of the what happened in the past, that's, you can't, you can't expect somebody to give up what has happened. You
right.
just need to help them get to where they are, into a better place now, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I think the one thing that does help is to release the pain of the past. And
Yeah.
because that's what the body's held on to, some of the emotion. And Les may get into that a little bit because, emotion just gets stored. And so once we release it, it's no longer there, and people are off and running and feel better.
Well, you mentioned with her fatigue. What are some of the other symptoms that people talk about?
I think I hear a lot of depression. I hear PTSD, which is kind of a broad term, but I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it does indicate that there's been some major trauma and the body's held on to that. Anxiety, panic, some people have panicky feelings. If they're in an event that recreates some of that old pain, then it may heighten, you know. And I think during this time of year, it just heightens because people have a lot of expectations on the way Christmas should be for them.
Yeah. Yeah. That, and is that also has a lot to do with allowing somebody else to dictate what Christmas should be to for you, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we a lot of times we let somebody tell us what Christmas or our holidays are. This is what this is what the TV is expecting my holiday to be.
Yeah, you see the Hallmark movies, and boy, I have
Yeah.
to limit those movies. I tell Les, "You can't see too many of them because they're all, just with glowing, romantic feelings."
And Suzanne, what is the one key um what is the one key thing that you ask them to do to bring relief?
Well, that is a great question. I think that gratitude goes a long way. In fact, they've found that through brain research that when you open up the frontal part of the brain, this area up here, through appreciation and gratitude, it really changes the connection with yourself, God, and others. And so I have them focus on, what do they appreciate the most, and maybe bring in a Christ-like figure or Christ to bring that appreciation even further. So I think that's important. I think developing community. I think you talked about your community, which is excellent. We need each other. I've had a community group for some time, and I think just looking at journaling from an empowerment perspective. I call it empowerment journaling because you can journal just all your woes and put all that down. But, maybe you do start off with a question or a sentence stem or something you're trying to get an answer about, and ask God to show you what is there. What is your response to that? I had an example recently where I was just all upset about a restaurant I chose, which was silly, but it was a restaurant that just didn't have, it was a sports bar, and I'm not into sports bars that much, but the food was very salty, and the waiter and the head waitress were so gracious, and they came and said, "How can I support you?" Because I complained a little about it. But then I realized that's the grace that we all need. We need to experience love from others that accept us where we are. And so I think, just sometimes writing out some affirmations. I can affirmations, a sentence stem that says, I want to let go of anger because, and, just kind of working with your inner self. I think Les will focus a little bit on that. And then cultivate grace for yourself and others. So those are things I've learned. And if you ask, like with Kathleen's work, maybe ask them to draw out their heart. What's in their heart that's unhealed, or give us a picture of what the inner crevices look like in your heart, because that can, it can be softened. And I think when our hearts are softened, we're more apt to be loving towards ourselves and others.
I I could not. I mean, I can't agree with you more, and I think that it is really perfect how you and Kathleen are on the same page there with the journaling, with the art, and it's a beautiful marriage when you put them together. It's a real way to open people up. One of the things that we do is we ask kids to be creative, and we ask them to help us build the collection boxes when we collect books or toys or whatever it is. And we ask kids to, we ask parents to sit the kids down with a poster board and whatever they want, crayons, markers, pencils, whatever they want. And we ask them to, what does this holiday mean to you? Or what does community mean to you? Or giving? Or, what does it mean to feel good to you? And we take those poster boards and we put them on the side of collection boxes. And that way, these kids know that they're doing something not only for themselves, they get to express themselves, but they're also doing something that is helping other people. And I know
Mhm.
that we've seen some great, I mean, we've received some great stuff from kids. And you know what? It may not be the most professional pictures in the world, but I'll tell you this, they have never meant more to me than any other pictures I've ever seen, because these kids have actually taken and they've done something that they care about, and that's what's important to me. So
That's beautiful. Yeah.
but well, Suzanne, thank you so very much for your time. How do people get a hold of you?
Well, my website is my name, Suzanne, but it has a B as in boy, Simpson.com. And on there's a phone number you can text me from, or you can, maybe just put a request in that you're interested in getting more resources or materials, or a session, a complimentary session. So those are excellent ways to connect.
Well, again, thank you very much for joining us again this year. As always, I invite you back whenever you would like to come on, and it's so inspiring seeing you and learning from you. So thank you so very much. And now I think we're going to bring on the man who you taught him a lesson. We found this out with your wind chimes. So he learned a lesson through J.W. Wilson, and it has to do with your wind chimes. How you doing, Les?
I'm doing great. The
So,
yeah, I'll quickly tell that since you brought it up, but then I'll get into some other stuff. The one thing JW and neuroscience shows us is we're all supposed to get along with everybody around us. And unfortunately, in JW's book, Cracking the Learning Code, really goes into this, that the first thing we were taught in school was how to be against other people. Um, when we went in school, we had all kinds of interest in bugs, trees, everything you can possibly think of. And as first we went into school, they set us down and they said, basically, you have to forget all that. We got a curriculum you got to do. And if you don't, we're going to give you bad grades. And the people that get good grades get to basically criticize the ones that don't get good grades. And so it's all about againstism, as he said. And the brain wasn't designed for that. The brain was designed to get along with other people. When I met JW a year and a half ago, before he died, he'd been gone 7 months now. He said, Les, I'm going to teach you a new language. I says, okay. He says, it's a language of emotion. He says, we're all supposed to get along with everybody else. Well, it's interesting. I started listening to him, and of course, we've been taught it otherwise. Competition is the only way to have value and so forth. And so I started listening, and I prayed, and I asked the Lord to show me what he was talking about. And the first thing that confirmed it after I was taking his course for about 3 weeks um, was Suzanne had these chimes. And at night, when the wind blew, I had to get out and get the things down before it woke up the dog and her. And after 3 times, I said, honey, can we get rid of these? I mean, I'm tired of getting up. And she says, oh no, these were given as a Christmas present from Ruth. And it's interesting. Once I heard that in my heart and understood how much meaningful it was to her, that I thought, well, it's not that big a deal to get up and get them. And so my thoughts changed. And it's interesting, once you understand the way we're created, then there's something inside of it that says, yes, that is true. And one of the things that I was telling another person today, excuse me, I've been on meetings all day long. My voice is not gone. That once, and this is what also JW says, once we're on the right track, then our eyes, our ears, everything starts searching out to seek what can make us better at who we are. And I was just talking to a lady on an earlier call. She was a social worker for 30 years. And it was just in her that she'd given enough. It was time to do something else. And then so she got into a occupation of getting funding for companies, but she didn't look at it as money. She looked at it as helping the companies get better. And so that's one of the things that I'm learning, and that we were all designed to get better. We were designed to get very good at something so we can support our community, so our community can support us. And we were all designed that way. And that's one of the things JW taught and neuroscience teaches. And so that's one of the things that right now I'm doing. But in fact, I want to make a comment here as far as what I'm doing now. There's an assessment, and it's Zach has the link to it. This assessment is proprietary. It was used in the Fortune 500 company for 30 years.
Your sound went out.
I'm sorry?
Okay, you're back.
Oh, you're
yeah,
back.
your sound waffled a little bit, but I think you're back now.
It's proprietary. It has 9 parts to it, and it shows us who we are. So many assessments out there are lost leaders. You pay $25 and they tell you who you aren't, and then they want to sell you a coaching program. This one shows who we are. And there's a 5-minute video you can watch. And in fact, under it, there's a white paper that shows the validity of it. And then there's a testimony of a lady that owns 3 companies. And she said once she put people in the position they were created to be, everybody wanted to be the best they could at it. And it tremendously reduced her management time. But the point is, in fact, neuroscience shows this, that when we're working outside of what we were designed to be, it tremendously increases stress. When stress happens, we go into fight or flight. And fight or flight drains the neocortex of blood, and that's where we get our creative problem-solving ability. So when a person is working outside of what they're supposed to be, it actually reduces their ability to do the job. And so this assessment shows people, well, entrepreneurs, what it shows them is what they need to be delegating or outsourcing, because it's not designed for them. It was designed for their other. But anyway, one of the things I wanted to really talk about here is Christ, how he heals. And everybody might ask, well, who am I to talk about that? If you read Suzanne's book, it tells my stories. And to give you an idea, I was ready to commit suicide at 17. And the Lord sent a person into me that started becoming my dad was dead. He died when I was 16, but I was sexually abused by both my mother and her boyfriend when I was a kid. And I was very angry. And I was put in a closet because I was angry and only allowed out now and then when I got the anger over. And so by 17, I was ready to call it quits. And I'd already decided how I was going to do it. And then the Lord sent this gentleman into my life and said, no, it's time for you to get to know me. And that was the Lord. And but it didn't stop there. And that's one of the things I really want to clarify is the Lord is there to heal. And unfortunately, we don't understand, the church does not teach it, that the Lord gets people when they're at the very bottom, when they don't think they have anything else. Go read the story in the scripture of Joseph. He had to be a slave for quite a while before the Lord turned him around. He was trying to do what he needed to do. David, same way. Paul, same way. Paul was stoned 3 times, left for dead, preaching the word. And then 15 years ago, about 15, nothing was going right in our life. What I mean by that is nothing physically was happening. And I wanted to go on. And I was 55. And I was hoping to get there by the time I was 65. And I went into the hospital. And they didn't think I was going to come out. I had blood clots in 3/4 of my lungs. And which was interesting. It healed up to the point where I didn't have to take shots and so forth. But what was interesting was within, and Jack told me that it was a gentleman. He says, things aren't going to change. And I thought it was. And the 6 weeks later, I was ready to call it quits again. And the Lord, see, this is how personal the Lord is. This is how soft the Lord is. And this is how much of a friend, but the master of the universe he is. He said, okay, you want to end it. He says, take me through that in your imagination. And so I did. And when I was getting ready to put the gun in my mouth, I realized I wouldn't have the courage. And I'd have to ask him for it. Needless to say, he wasn't going to give it to me. And he asked me this. He says, okay, what part of your life you want to die in? He says, do you want to die that you can see trees? I said, no. He said, do you want to die that you like the taste of food? No. He says, so what is it you want to die in? I says, the pain. And he says, that we can work with. And once I did that, for the next 6 months, constantly, when things didn't go physically right, I now knew I could talk to him about it. Once I went to the very, very bottom, And he says, take me in your imagination to what you fear the most. Then he started bringing me out of it. And so for the next 6 months, constantly, almost once a week, I felt I wanted to get out of here. And we talked. And so it turned me around. And so then the Lord led me into emotional freedom technique. And because there's always been something, as Suzanne is experienced in emotional freedom technique, you could have her run you through it. And what she was talking about, the STEM, uh, the sentence completion technique. Um, when I first wanted to die, the Lord, and this was 10 years, 30 years before that, he led me to a book. There's a gentleman that you really want to get to know if you want do some self-therapy. Now, if you really want to find out what's in there and you want to bring it to the Lord and say, hey, I don't like this anymore, help me clear it out. There's a psychologist by the name of Nathaniel Brandon. And the first book I read of his is If You Could Hear What I Cannot Say. And you can still get the book. And it's what they call a sentence completion technique. And what you do, let's say you're mad at somebody. You say, the reason I'm mad at this person is, and you complete that 10 times. And you find out what's bugging you inside. And then the book, it has you do that each day. And then at the Friday, it has you read them over. And it really pulls stuff out that you can, and there's a lot of tears. And it allows you to see who you are deep inside, all the trauma. Because you'll never forget your past, but what you can forget is, can get healed is the trauma. And I'll give you an example of that. Emotional freedom technique. What we learned is there's two parts to things that really mess us up. And one is guilt and one is shame. Guilt is we did something we felt we shouldn't. Shame is we didn't do something we thought we should. And PTSD is one of the big ones that EFT helps with. And we had a soldier that had, every time he heard a loud noise, he was underneath the couch. He had nightmares all the time. His wife was done with it after 10 years and ready to divorce him. And he went to this workshop, 3-day workshop. And what we found out was him and his favorite buddy was walking in Vietnam. And they had this system that they walked where he walked on the right-hand side. And they had done this for a year. Well, this morning they had an argument and he decided to walk on the left-hand side. Well, his buddy's head was shot off. And so he thought if he wouldn't have made that decision, his buddy would have been alive. So once the EFT happened and he found that it was all something that he felt that he did and he shouldn't have, then Christ healed it. And within 2 weeks, he was living a normal life. And so it all has to do with trauma of what we either think we did and we shouldn't have done, or we didn't do and we should have. And this heals that. And I'll suggest to everybody emotional freedom technique. There's books that you can get and do it on yourself, but you can also have therapists. But EFT for Christians is a big one. And because it really shows how Christ comes in and heals things. But the main thing at Christmas and so forth, when Suzanne, she'll tell you, she really has a problem with not having family. But what she's learning gradually His family is an image that she has worshiped all of her life that has all good stuff. But fortunately, the Lord is starting to show her that people with families sometimes isn't good stuff. And so, but she's learning, and she's learning to have the Lord to be her family. And that's not easy. But right now, every time she asks for meetings with family, he cuts it off because he's saying, "You're my family." And it's a process. But the one thing about the Lord is he's relentless. It's kind of like Joseph. It took him 17 years after he was told he was going to have his brothers bow to him before the Lord had him prepared for it happened. And then he forgave all of his brothers because he said, "What you meant for evil, the Lord meant for good." And we don't change overnight, but he's relentless. He keeps the calendar. We don't have to be anything we're not today. And that's why I love this assessment. It shows people who they are and allows them to be who they are. And so uh, that's one of the things with the, by the way, veterans can get free EFT sessions. And there's an organization that has part of their training is free sessions for veterans on PTSD, 5 of them they can get. A lot of times 5 is all they need. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's what it's about in Christmas. Christ heals. Christ removes our trauma. Christ removes our hatred of ourselves because we didn't do something or we did do something.
Les, my brother, thank you for opening up. Um, uh, thank you for for being yourself, and thank you for those stories. Um, I have a couple. First off, I have a question. Does anybody, Kathleen, Suzanne, Les, do you all have any questions for each other? Was there anything that any of you wanted to ask one another before I ask my final question?
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys know each other, but I mean, I know sometimes in a situation like this, we open up and there are questions that come out here. Um, Kathleen, let's start with you. When God spoke to you for your first time, and I know this may sound like a weird question, but there are people who very well could need this question. The first time God spoke to you, what did you think? What was your first thought? Was it, why is somebody speaking to me? And what's going on here? Am I crazy? What was your first thought when God spoke to you the first time?
Well, fortunately, I grew up in a very faith based, grounded, integrative home. So I hear the stories of what I said. And one of the things I said was Tata Gigi for thank you, Jesus. So I hear
Uh,
it before I remember it. So I guess that's a good sign.
All right, I got to be honest with you, Kathleen. I think we just came up with the title for this segment, Tata Gigi.
All about him this season.
So that was cute. So again, Kathleen, thank you so very much for joining us. I cannot thank you enough. So thank you, uh, Suzanne. What was the first time you heard that voice? What was the first thought when it came into your life? What was your first thoughts?
Well, I think I was in high school, and I think it gave me a lot of peace. And I don't know that I got very grounded in it at that time because I kind of still had my independent side of me, to kind of go my own separate path. So it really wasn't until I was out working that I found the the relief from depression, and that's where I think it helped me the most. And I heard a voice that said, "Come to me, you can find relief, and the scriptures have it." And I thought, no, I don't understand the scriptures. But when I felt a leading in that direction, the scriptures opened up to me.
Wow, yeah, that. That is kind of exactly what I was looking, because I know that there's a lot of people who they may have heard a voice and they just don't understand what they're hearing, and that's the reason I asked that question. So just to make sure everybody understands what I was going for here. Les, you just really brought this up in your story. Um, 17 was the first time. What was your first reaction to hearing this voice?
Well, give you a little bit further. My dad, he was um, brought up, both of his parents were killed. And he was brought up by an uncle that was strict Southern Baptist. And he beat him all the time. Every time something turned around, he got beat. And my dad was a very large man, Swedish. And at 17, he was wearing 17 size men's shirts. And he decided at 17 that he was going to have to make a decision, either run away or kill his uncle, because he said that he could have broke him like a pencil. And so he ran away. And he didn't want our family to have anything to do with religion. And at 12, or maybe, yeah, 12, we saw a play at school. And we didn't know it, but a pastor had been in it and invited us to this deal the following evening. And I thought it was going to be another play. It was a preacher talking, and at the end of it, they asked for people to come forward, and a lady beside me pushed me out in the hallway or in the aisle. And so I went down. He did his thing and so forth, and uh, took me home, and said he would be back Sunday. And Dad says, "I don't want you on this property. Get off now." And so that was the end of that until I was 16 and met this girl, and everybody was praying. They had a family that went to church, and everybody was praying that I would get involved with her. Well, I did, and went to the church, but that's when, and she wouldn't have sex with me. And I was simply angry and had decided that was it. And that's that night I decided to end it by driving off a big cliff in Fort Collins, Horsetooth Reservoir. And then that's when the Lord sent the other gentleman into my life. I listened to a youth group thing, and a friend of mine, I says, "I think I need to talk to you." And we went inside a room, and I said, "Well, I'll pray with you if you want." And I says, "Well, all I can say is, Lord, at 12, I said something, but I don't know if you ever were in my life, but now I want you in my life." And that was the start of it. And from then on, he's just poured it. But the one thing I don't want anybody to get the idea is anything changes the next day. Problems are
Yeah.
still there. You just have somebody now you can take the problems to, and he cleans you up as he goes, and you learn to trust him more and more. In fact, the one thing I really suggest to everybody is to read the last 3 chapters of Job. You find out what the Lord does, how he runs the entire world. And when you finally get that he runs the world, he can run up my life. And you fight with him every day and say, "I don't like this." And he says, "Okay, why?" And it's a conversation. So that was the first time really. But also, Suzanne has her book that at 5, I had a Bible underneath my pillow because I couldn't sleep in the dark. And I would get up at night and read 3 or 4 chapters, didn't know what the hell I was reading, and put the Bible back on, but then I could sleep. So there's been a process that he's had me on ever since I was a kid.
Suzanne, Les has mentioned it a couple times. Can you tell us the title of your book?
Yeah, it's called Lost and Restored, and the subtitle is Healing Your Heart with the Father. I have, like on my website, I can discuss the first chapter. It can be sent off to someone and discuss what the book's about. And they can get it on Amazon as well.
Okay, and we will link all that to the description of this show, and that way you can find that book. Kathleen, Suzanne, Les, brother, thank you all. Thank you all for being part of the miracle. I think Les said it the best, okay? No matter which way you choose to to be complete, you've got to remember nothing changes overnight. And if it does, it's probably not worth it. If it's something that you think is going to change overnight, you know, it's a shortcut. Healing is a task. Healing is working. You have to continue to live a better life no matter which way you go. And I love, Les, that you put that out there. That you can't wake up the next morning and everything's perfect. It just doesn't work that way. There are always going to be mornings that you're going to wake up and you're going to go, oh, not again. How are you going to look at the rest of the day, though? That's the important thing. Again, thank you all so very much for being part of the miracle of this season. And we will tag all their information. If you need to get a hold of them, please connect with me and I will do my best to make connections. But thank you all.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Zach.
Merry